Wait, you're telling me that you hacked the country of North Korea and took North Korea off the internet? You personally did that?
Yeah, wasn't a big deal.
Hey, thank you for watching / listening to another episode of whatever you're listening to. Paranoid American Podcast, Occult Disney, Paranoid Programming, Sound Science. There's a bunch of them, but whatever it is, I appreciate that you're listening / watching to this right now. And if you really want to support Paranoid American, if you didn't know this, in addition to being a podcast, we've actually been publishing comics since 2012, so over a decade. While I was still at Disney, I started this company to publish a little book called Time Samplers, and it's exploded into 60 different titles at this point. And the biggest one just launched, at least at the time of recording this, but it's at nasacomic.com, stands for Never a Straight Answer, and it's about Stanley Kubrick directing the moon landings. And I just want to show you some of the cool kind of exclusive things you can get by backing this thing early. So if you go to nasacomic.com, it'll automatically bring you to this Kickstarter page, and you can see, bam, hit our goal at the time of recording this, 100%. So it's definitely going to be made. So you'll absolutely get a copy of this thing if you back it. If you're listening to this in the future and this page isn't here or brought you somewhere else, then likely you can just buy it right now. So you have to skip all this and just buy the damn thing. But here's a couple little previews of artwork. Here's different variant covers that are for offered. This top left one, I actually have in print. I got a couple of prototypes printed up just to make sure that it would look good. It looks great, looks amazing, full color, gloss pages. It's got a nice hefty weight to it because it's 40 different pages of all unique art that you haven't seen before. There's also going to be a variant cover. There's going to be a foil, hollow foil cover. And then there's a little postcard print that anybody that gets a physical copy of the comic in any form, they're going to end up getting this postcard size print here. Here's some different artwork samples from the 3 different artists that contributed to this book. And then here's the important part, the rewards. So by backing this project, you're going to get to pick some different kind of reward tier. The entry level one is this digital deluxe, which has the entire book in digital form. You'll get a PDF. It's also going to have an additional 8 different pages that aren't in any of the print versions, just because they were maybe some were a little too spicy, maybe some were a slightly different art style, but I'm going to give all that in the digital deluxe, along with some wallpapers and some MP3s and stuff. If you want the print one that I was just holding up here, then the entry for that one is $15. With that, you're going to get that little postcard print I mentioned. You're going to get a trading card. You're going to get a bookmark, and you'll probably get some other stuff because I always throw in extra freebies. You can ask anyone that's bought anything from Paranoid American. I hook it up with lots of extras. If you want the variant cover, which is only available in this campaign, there's a $19 tier for that. It also comes with an extra sticker. If you want the hollow foil, then that one is $29. These ones are going to be super limited. Like, these won't exist outside of this campaign for the next 30 days. So if you are listening to this in the future, sorry you missed out. You might be able to snag one in an upcoming campaign if there's extras. But if you really want this hollow foil, and you should, you can get it right now for $29. And then we've got a couple other tiers after that. We've got a 55th anniversary special for $55. That has the main cover and the foil cover and a sticker sheet and some other goodies. Here's the best value, basically. There's a $99 Cosmic Conspiracy tier, over 40% off of all the different things that are included. So this one's going to come with the main cover, the variant cover, the hollow foil cover, 3 or 4 different sticker sheets. It's going to come with 6+ stickers. It has the trading card, a bookmark. It has a custom Paranoid American Room 237 keychain. And I think the highlight of this is it's going to come with this custom embroidered Stanley Kubrick patch based on the Apollo 11 design. And if you keep scrolling down, you can see all the other extra reward tiers. All of the different items are going to be described in more detail. And I want to show you this patch right here. It's a 3-inch embroidered iron-on patch. You can put it on your Molex bag. You can put it on, anything, hats, backpacks. This is the first time we've ever done one of these custom patches, so I'm really excited about that. There's also a custom fake moon landing playset that you can select as an add-on when you go to check out. So speaking of, let's say that you're sold, you want to get a copy, you want to help support Paranoid American. you haven't used Kickstarter before, the easiest thing to do is you just click on this project button on the page. It's both at the very top of the screen and it's at the top of the page. So you can click either one, back this project. And from here, it's going to be like a typical checkout. You're going to select which of these different tiers you want. Again, I highly recommend this $99 Cosmic Conspiracy combo. It's going to have every single thing that the campaign has to offer that's exclusive to this NASA book. You click on that, you pick the country that you're in, and then you just click on the pledge button. There's one extra last step where it's going to ask you if you want to do any add-ons, if you want to throw in like a trading card pack or another keychain or anything else. You can get some huge discounts on the backlog of Paranoid American comics. But let's say you're done with that, you click continue, and then finally, if you don't already have a Kickstarter account, you'll be prompted to make one. You can link it to Facebook. The rest of the flow is just like any typical checkout online. So I really appreciate if you would take a look. Please just back the comic, back nasacomic.com. Anyways, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Good evening, listeners, brave navigators of the enigmatic and the concealed. Have you ever felt the pull of the unanswered, the allure of the mysteries that shroud our existence? For more than a decade, a unique comic publisher has dared to dive into these mysteries, unafraid of the secrets they might uncover. This audacious entity is Paranoid American. Welcome to the mystifying universe of the Paranoid American podcast.
Launched in the year 2012, Paranoid American has been on a mission to decipher the encrypted secrets of our world. From the unnerving enigma of MK Ultra mind control to the clandestine assemblies of secret societies. From the awe-inspiring frontiers of forbidden technology to the arcane patterns of occult symbols in our very own pop culture. They have committed to unveiling the concealed realities that lie just beneath the surface. Join us as we navigate these intricate landscapes, decoding the hidden scripts of our society and challenging the accepted perceptions of reality.
Folks, I've got a big problem on my hands. There's a company called Paranoid American making all these funny memes and comics. Now, I'm a fair guy. I believe in free speech as long as it doesn't cross the line. And if these AI-generated memes dare to make fun of me, they're crossing the line.
This is your expedition into the realm of the extraordinary, the secret, the shrouded. Come with us as we sift through the world's grand mysteries, question the standardized narratives, and brave the cryptic labyrinth of the concealed truth. So strap yourselves in, broaden your horizons, and steel yourselves for a voyage into the enigmatic heart of the Paranoid American podcast, where each story, every image, every revelation brings us one step closer to the elusive truth.
All right, we got another episode of Paranoid American podcast, and we're jumping all over the place. We're doing like ancient history, and we're doing like mythology, and we were doing psychedelic AI-generated like protein folding, and now we've got honestly something that's going to be like way more dear to my heart, and I might even like spill some beans on myself a little bit, but we've got Alejandro, aka Alex, aka Pax, if you speak, lead speak, if you can surf the cyberspace like a cyber cowboy, like I do in Ghost Rider. But okay, welcome to Paranoid American Podcast. First of all, we're gonna get into a million different things. Tell people if you got like a project going on or social media you want them to follow or anything at all. Just throw your plugs up front here.
Yeah, sure, man. First of all, thanks for having me on, dude. Like, thanks for inviting me. In terms of social media, I use Twitter. It's kind of interesting sometimes. I mean, I shitpost a lot, is basically it. But more than anything, just Twitter, a little bit of Reddit. That's about it. I'm hyp3ri0n, which is like _ hyp3ri0n, and then you'll probably find me. So yeah, that's me.
All right, so I'll start this out and apologize if I make it about me for like just the first couple minutes here. But I've never really talked about this on this particular podcast, only because it probably didn't seem interesting to anyone other than me. But we're talking hacking and like computer software and just like all tech geeky stuff in general. Like deep down, I'm absolutely a computer nerd at heart. I don't think that should surprise too many people because I like go wild into all this stuff. But I mean, it goes to the fact that in the mid to late 90s, I was running with some pretty hard crew on AOL 2.5.3, I think. Oh, yeah. And I'm talking like Magus and HaVoK and Snoop. I didn't myself get any of my progz like to the level that all those guys did. You know, AOHell by Lucifer and stuff. Those were the heavy hitters, bro. But AOHell inspired me. I think I want to say 7th grade, 7th or 8th grade. I went out and I got the Win32 API book from whatever the store, and it was like $80 in the 90s, which is like $1,000 now. Yeah. And I read that. I brought it to all my classes. I didn't pay attention to history. I didn't pay attention to social studies. I was reading Win32 API nonstop, and I just wanted to make these progz, and I did. And I had a couple really good ones, and the fun ones were like the punters, where. Yeah. And this is the reason I'm even saying this is because I want to kind of explain what my concept of hacking is, which is a very time capsule 1990s version of hacking. But to me, hacking at that point in AOL 2.5, 3.0 or something, there was this concept of punting, and basically it started with someone found out you could embed like a font size in a message to someone and set the font size to like 9 million something. Yeah, a bit bigger. And AOL didn't have anything to like validate this crazy number coming in. They would actually try and theoretically scale this font so big that it would overflood the memory. And basically, if you just sent a message to someone, their computer would restart or AOL would crash. But usually the computer could actually just restart itself, which was so fun. Like that was the most amazing. Like all I have to do is just send you an unsolicited message that you have no way of saying I don't want this, and your computer just restarts. It was, I can't tell you. Like I'm getting giddy right now thinking about how much fun this was. So the next iteration of that was like, okay, this is fun. So then I wrote a program that would open up the AOL chat room window, and it had, I can't remember all the terminology, like an MCI window or something, but it would like jump inside the window and get all the different the handles to all the different components, and it would scroll through everyone in the chat room and then jump to the next and get a list of everyone in there, and it would just keep going through, and that would then become the basis for like, okay, now I'm just going to shut all these people's computers down. Or you go into a chat room and do it to everyone using something called like a scroller, or you would use like a fisher. Or anyways, that's my OG credit, is that I didn't work on Magus with HaVoK, and I didn't work on AOHell, but I definitely bummed the hell out of those guys. And I was like nonstop bugging them for feedback and info. And I actually at least talked to someone that claimed to be HaVoK, although I'm pretty sure it wasn't the real HaVoK. So those are my credentials. That's my concept of hacking. Tell me, to transition this into you now, how close to that 1990s AOL proggy wares hacking scene are we in 2024? Is it like just not even like night and day, or what?
No, honestly, like things have changed in the sense that everything is more official, right? Like there's companies that do all this kinds of shit. So like if we were back in the 1990s and we had a similar like sort of system as today, like, you know, not the technology and all that, just like a similar sort of setup, it would be a bunch of corporations trying to sell you stuff that's like, we validate fonts, we make it so that you have to accept a message. And, you know, they would be selling it to you for like $6,000, which at the time was what, like $100,000. So, honestly, it has not changed that much. There's just a lot of really fancy terminology for all this stuff. Like what you're talking about, the punters, which by the way, this is exactly how I got started. So everything you spoke about, I was like,
awesome, man. We can be friends now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I picked up a Visual Basic book and I started to try to make punters.
I got Visual Basic out of an AOL server room. So like it was the perfect Ouroboros of hacking.
Yeah. It was so much fun, man. But these days we would call that a denial of service attack. If if you were in a chat room and you kicked everybody off or harvested their usernames even and then kicked them off, you'd probably get some sort of like a CFAA violation letter and get arrested and go to prison for like a year or something like that. So everything's just become kind of, I don't know, everything's a lot more official-like, if you will. But the underlying stuff, man, is just as vulnerable. I mean, those were early days of the internet, and there was some limitations then that we don't have now. Things are better protected now than they were then, but attack has gotten like astronomically better, like just absurdly better and so much faster. So, looking at the two eras, I mean, you can still fuck around with a lot of people right now in very similar ways, So, yeah.
So, I mean, I assume like the archetypical work would just be finding exploits in a system. That's pretty basic. The main difference, and I'm saying this so you can correct me or agree with me, but the main difference is that instead of that very nice walled garden of an insecure like Win32 API shell that AOL was, where you could just you could do anything you wanted with their whole software. You could make it your own software so easily. Yeah. Anyways, the difference now is that you don't have as many walled gardens unless you're doing like database injection kind of stuff or PHP exploit specific 0-day type things. But it almost seems that if I had graduated to the next level, which I didn't, I ended up getting into like game design, and that ended up being more fun to me than doing like way less profitable for sure, as if I have just gone fully into cybersecurity. But it seems that the next evolution to that phase would have been getting really familiar with like POSIX and Unix, just general commands, so that I knew my way around. And I could, because even right now, if I was to try and navigate like a Unix system and figure out what port is listening to this thing, like I'm on Stack Overflow and like, what the hell was that stupid command? And I'll assume maybe you, but plenty of people I know, like they have every single POSIX command memorized, and they can recite them frontwards and backwards and tell you like the pros and cons of all of it. So like, let's say that you have that. Let's say you know all the POSIX commands frontward and backward. Are you a hacker already at that point? Like, do you already have everything you need to do?
I would say yes and no. I mean, you need to. Yeah, sure. Of course, having like all the POSIX commands and like just knowing that you're already at a certain level, right? Like if you understand, I don't know, like a netcat or something like that, and like basic networking and things like which you would to be able to use those commands effectively. Yeah, man. At that point, you're to the point where you can start using hacking programs very, very easily. I mean, it's all just the same kind of shit, right? Like it's there's nothing magic about any kind of hacking program, any kind of whatever. I don't know, like Metasploit, all that stuff. Nmap is like the popular port scanner. That was, I think, even around back then. But it's all the same, right? Like you run this thing, it does a thing, and you pass it flags to make it do other things, right? So. Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, like it's all about being familiar with it and then just learning like a few programs, and you're, a good script kiddie kind of thing. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm glad you said script kiddie, because that's a perfect segue into another question that I kind of had floating, and that's let's arbitrarily make like 3 classes of hacker, right? So at the very like superficial level, I'd say script kiddie. Like these are the people that are downloading the AOL progs, and they're like, I'm a hacker because I downloaded, AOHell, and I clicked this button and your computer restarted. I'm a hacker, which technically is true, depending on your perspective, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, you might have like the back orifice sort of user, where it's like, oh, that's cute. You're playing with AOL, but like I can take over someone's entire system, maybe even other machines on the network. Using like, and this is another like 90s OG thing, I think, is back orifice. And then at like the deepest level is like the guy that made back orifice, or the hackers that are designing stuff for the guys that, like the ones that are like paid by say either governments or some crazy, digital mafias or whatever it would be in the 90s. So with those three different like orders, right? Can you give me an example of in 2024 the tools that like that first, second, and third level people would be using right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, everybody starts out as a script kiddie, right? So, to me, like, I like to make fun of them.
I started just right in back orifice, so
yeah,
I'm just
yeah, right. I knew everything right when I started. It's interesting. That's a good question. So if I were a script kiddie today, I definitely Metasploit would be on there. Metasploit is just like it's an aggregator of a bunch of exploits, and it's as easy as basically, one command. You do like MSF console, you list exploits. It tells you what's vulnerable and what's not. There's even like a check functionality. Like you can be like, hey, use this exploit. Okay, now check this IP address. Does it have, whatever software it's the vulnerability or the exploit is
Is it software or is this like a website that just lists exploits?
No, it's actually a piece of software. It's a CLI thing. It's a command line thing. Runs on Windows and Linux. So they also have. There's a bunch of GUI wrappers around it as well that you can use. So it's like lists of exploits. You pick one. You define your target. That's like this little thing that says target, and you put it in. And then you either like click exploit, you click check, or whatever the thing does, right? Sometimes it's like you go from a normal user to administrator. Sometimes it's an RCE or remote code execution exploit, which will like connect back to you. Sometimes it's a mix of both. Sometimes it's leaking memory, which can give you information. Now those are really complicated exploits, right? A lot of the time. But they come in a manner that they're prepackaged, and they're all tested by a core team, by a company named Rapid7, who bought Metasploit actually. But now it's all QA'd. Everything, it gives you like a reliability level for everything. So that's kind of your typical sort of script kiddie tool to use. I would say like Nmap and then Metasploit, and you can probably get away with like charging somebody $10K for a pen test.
I'm having so much fun listening to this and engaging with this. So what is like the 2024 version of, I guess that kind of sounds like a back orifice in a way. So like what would be like a step above that? Like what's like the expert hacker using?
Yeah, I can't speak for everybody. Everybody seems to like this program by this guy that was kind of rude to me one time. So I'm not even going to say the name of the program, but they really like. I'm so fucking petty, man. They really like it. It's like a
hacker being petty. What? That's the crazy.
Yeah, right. It's totally unheard of. It's basically just like, it's kind of a wrapper around Metasploit that I was talking about, but it has some additional advanced functionality, basically. So I'd say most what they call red teamers now, which is just people that are constantly attacking and telling the organization they work for how they're doing it, writing up reports like all the time, that kind of stuff. It can get into pretty advanced stuff, right? Like you need to not only break into something, but once you break into something, I think the more advanced hacker, like the next level is, what do I do after I've found something vulnerable and I've been able to break in? And usually the answer is, it depends, right? But it's usually to secure access to additional assets, right? So with these more advanced tools, which Metasploit is actually capable of this, you have to learn to sort of weave in and out of a network. So you can say like, all right, I've compromised this asset. I'm going to proxy through this, go to this other one that I've found this vulnerability in, and then I'm going to use those two hops and go to this next one, right? a lot of times it works like that. A lot of times you're like, okay, I'm going to hop to the next one. You hop to the next one, write something that'll do a connect back to your machine, and you're just directly on the next one, and you can kind of hop that way. But I'd say understanding a network, understanding how to move through a network, and understanding what's on a network are probably the three biggest things to sort of getting onto that next level. And programming, definitely.
Okay, and so if we're talking about networking, that's I would say, like, let's consider networking like a macrocosm, because I just want to give a practical example analogy, just in case there's someone that's still listening that has no idea what we're talking about and they're like hanging on for dear life. I apologize. I don't think we're going to get any like less technical, because I've got like all kinds of. But so if I can come up with a practical example that's more of like a microcosm of that. So if we eliminate the entire world of network where, you know, the possibilities are endless, and then we bring it into like a single intranet or like a single device, let's say the Nintendo Wii. So one of the practical examples, which I think is analogous to what we're talking about, is a way that you could unlock the Wii so that you could install like custom OS on it, and then you could play bootleg games, and it would just override all the system protections. And one of those examples, I'm going to make up some of these. I don't remember the exact games of the process, but for example, somebody found out that there was a vulnerability in like the Lego Indiana Jones game, just some random game, and that if you went to a certain save place and you save the game with like a certain amount of resources in your backpack, that it could potentially cause this little glitch, and that once you did that save, now you can do like this the remote code injection that you mentioned before. So it like overloads the system. The game was programmed in a way that they had some mistake, or like they use too much memory. Something happens, and once someone's like, "Oh, the game glitches when you get here," the hacker out there is like, "Oh, I wonder if I can use that exact problem to then like inject my own thing." And all of a sudden, 8 months go by, and now you've got an unlocked Wii that you can download games off the internet and play them. And Nintendo goes screaming, and they update their firmware and they do crazy stuff around it.
Yeah.
So that, I think, if you were to just say, okay, that same process of find a problem in the game, use that problem to then compromise the entire system, and then once you have access to the whole system, replace it with your own system, and now you've got control over all the hardware, and you don't have to sneak around and do hacking workarounds anymore. Extrapolate that to the internet. So now you're not just talking about your Wii, you're talking about your bank down the street, or the DoD, or maybe something a little bit more mild. I guess that's a good prompt. Are there like a safe sandbox? If someone wanted to say, hey, I want to learn how to do all this stuff, and I want to use Metasploit, but I don't want to get arrested, and I don't want to like have North Korea come after me, where can you go? Is there like a safe place to go and try all this out, where there's like printers ready for you to hack?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're a hacker and you just don't have anything to attack, or they're not paying you, you're not on like a penetration test, which is where you hack them and report on it. You need somewhere to play, right? It's just like you either do that or you start doing illegal shit, right? So there's places. There's like one called Hack the Box. That it's just a network that somebody's built, and you pay a subscription, and they're all vulnerable machines, and all vulnerable in different and unique ways. Most of them are there's different levels of them too, right? So there's one that's like, Script Kiddie could do this. This is just a very basic run of say something like Metasploit, right? And sometimes it'll be like, okay, it'll be a basic run of Metasploit, but then you have to do another 8 things. So yeah, there's actually a few of them, and I mean they're pretty cool. Like I'll say they're fun to play around in, but in the end, like you can. I don't know about a lot of other people, but for me, it's not that satisfying, just because, like, I mean, first of all, you're not having any kind of impact anywhere, right? But even aside from that, those boxes are vulnerable in some way, right? And when you're actually out there in the real world, it's entirely possible that you just completely fail, and somebody has actually secured their system well enough that it's a good idea to move on to the next one, or move on to like another target in the similar system, right? Stuff like that. And you don't really learn that in those. So long story short, yes, there are those things. They have their own like little limitations as well. So
that's fair. I mean, like, so Hack the Box almost sounds like a little tutorial environment, but once you learn the ropes, it lacks the novelty of actually finding. So I guess it will be like when you go and buy the little gemstone kits, and it's like the gemstones, you go buy it at the store and it comes like a little miniature hammer and you break it out, but like, there's gemstones in there because that's what you bought it for.
That's exactly right.
But it's not the same as like going out and like finding a real dinosaur bone or like a real thing, because now you're like, oh my God, this is rare that I found this thing. So,
that's a great analogy, man. You're good at analogies. I like the previous one with the video game as well, because like, if you've ever played like Minecraft or anything like that, or watched the community, I don't actually play very much. Just the community is ridiculously fascinating. But people actually find stuff like that in games, right? Like they're like, yeah, you like jump 6 times and then press this and then that, and then you can like fucking fly the whole time, right? Like, things like that. But no, I think you're spot on. Yeah, there's things that are left out when you're in like a lab environment, right? And I mean, I wouldn't say like it's easier necessarily, right? Like some of those machines that they make vulnerable, like they're fucking hard, man. There's somewhere where I'm like, all right, what do I do next here? All right, let's see. And they have stuff like misdirection. They're like, they make it seem like this is the right place to go, and they're creative about it. So it's good. It's good training, but you absolutely need to know when to just be like, no, just like fuck this one. There's gonna be like another one that's gonna be way easier, and just move on. So yeah.
There was a random article, but I remember because I keep my ear to the streets on like all the fun hacks and stuff. And one of them, because I worked previously in the hotel industry making like custom software and stuff, and it was kind of like the rage where there was this engineer that stayed in a hotel, and when he was doing his like network sniffing, he just saw this constant data stream just in this random channel. And he spent like, he was on vacation, but he spent like his entire vacation, like the whole week, just trying to figure out like where it was coming from, breaking it down. Essentially, after like 4 days of not going to the pool and going out and doing things, like spending in his hotel room, he discovered it was basically just like a public Bluetooth stream of the elevator music or something. Like it wasn't even that interesting. But like the journey there, it was like you would never, so many people wouldn't understand the glee of like, it doesn't matter that eventually he found that out. The fact that he like started with this weird, just random encryption, it's just like the world just being nonstop puzzles, I guess, right?
No, that's absolutely right. And I mean, that's a very typical hacker story, right? Like it's just, a lot of it is curiosity. You just look at something and you're like, wait, like, also, hotel Wi-Fi. Like, if there's a hacker in there, like you don't want to be using it, man. But that's like exactly the hacker mentality. Hey, there's this thing. I don't get it. That bothers me. I'm going to know more. Like, not a question. Like, hey, let's see if I know more. It's like, no, I'm going to. It might take me 6 days. It might take me a week. It might take me a month. But I'll figure that shit out. And yes, it might be elevator music. I don't give a shit. I'll figure it out. So it's a very real hacker story.
I'm curious, and this is gonna be like just a subjective shoot from the hip on your end. So like we're not gonna pin you down to some like academic requirement here.
Oh, it's all good.
But so if I were to ask you, in general, let's say that my audience is all high school graduate, maybe associates or something, non-technical enough to like, we know how to use computers because we're in the generation where it's kind of required. We're using one right now. So let's say that like that being kind of like a baseline, not you or I, but maybe like the non-technical versions of us. How confident are you that we could throw a dart at one of them and you could like gain access to their computer and just do whatever you want with it, get into their bank? Like how, like in general, like, they're using whatever, Windows 11, or they're using like a Mac, just the standard run of the mill stuff.
Yeah, no, honestly, probably get into nearly all of them. But I would say that's not necessarily because there are a lot of vulnerabilities in computers or there are a lot of vulnerabilities in computers and operating systems, but that's not necessarily why. I think there's just a few things that people don't know, and some of them are even just like tricks, and some of them are things to watch out for that a lot of people either don't know, or even if you know it, it doesn't matter, which is actually a part of my story, which I'm sure we'll get into a little later. But yeah, I mean, in the end, a kid is gonna be not even just a kid, man. Like everybody wants something, right? Like there's always something. Like there's always a carrot that somebody can dangle in front of you, right? And you're like, ooh, look, carrot, I'm gonna grab that, right? So that's when you start getting into things like phishing, social engineering, and you realize like, okay, yeah, there's vulnerabilities in computers and programs and all that, and that is important. It's an important part of the process. But the biggest vulnerability is the person every single time. I mean, you go look at a system and you're like, I'm not really seeing that much. You know, this seems kind of hard. There's a lot of work. All right, I'm just gonna contact their media relations office and like pretend to be like a young girl writing a paper on, you know, X industry or whatever. Have them open up a doc or have them open up a program or something, and then boom, you're in, you know? So yeah, I mean, long answer to your short question, but probably almost 100%. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. And we're almost, I don't know any of the quotes anymore, but there was a famous quote from like Kevin Mitnick that was essentially like the biggest compromised flaw in any system is the person, something like that. And he would famously find out the type of people that would go and do work, you know, like utility work on companies and get the outfit and get the like do the whole thing and show up and get access to their actual servers and then like introduce his own exploit so that he could then remote, like I'm oversimplifying some of that aspect of it.
Yeah, no.
So let's take social engineering out. Let's just assume that for whatever reason, you can't get them to install your cracked team viewer and then have them like access, you know, stuff. Like it's just you connecting to them through command line. Is it still like you can probably still take over if you take social engineering out of the equation?
Yeah, it definitely depends a little bit on sort of where you're placed. Like, let's say I'm completely on the outside, like coming through the internet. This is somebody I don't know. It becomes a little bit complicated. I would say it's not like I would definitely would not put 100% to that one. It's going to depend on a few things, but you know, kids these days are like you said, they're just native to computers, right? So things like password strength, their password strength is amazing compared to like the older generation, right? Like things like that. So it's not incredibly easy to like even say hack their social media or something like that, or whatever. But you know, and the other part of it is that now internet service providers have become a little bit wiser, and in general, what we're seeing is that the routers that they ship out to people, which is what is actually facing the internet. Like if I were to do a scan of the internet of like a residential area, say, all I'd really see is a bunch of routers. They've gotten pretty wise to that. So usually you just won't find any ports open, which means that there's not really that much of a possibility of a remote attack. So, you know, you have to kind of figure it out. And like the average kid or home network is far more secure than any organization oftentimes. And that's just a factor of there's a lot of moving pieces in larger organizations. There's a lot of targets. There's a lot of things you can mess up. There's a lot more functionality. People want to be able to do things from home, right? People want to control networking devices from home. They don't want to come into the office, that kind of stuff. But you know, for the average kind of kid these days, they're not bad. They're not bad. So that's a pretty good thing. That's a pretty good thing.
How much security does a VPN truly provide?
Much less than people think. There's a few things that it can really help with, I would say. Say you're on like an untrusted network, like actually your hotel example is a good one. So in order to really intercept traffic on, say, like a hotel network, you have to do essentially what's called like a man-in-the-middle attack, or a cache poisoning attack in particular, which just means that all the you trick the router, or you trick whatever networking device they're using to send everything to your computer, and then from your computer you have it flow out, right? And that means you can tweak stuff, you can change stuff, things like that. Now, if you're on a VPN, the very first thing that happens is your traffic gets encrypted, right? No matter what it is, your traffic gets encrypted, and then it gets sent out. So if I'm, as we call a man in the middle, I'm watching that traffic, all it's going to look like is encrypted trash. And it doesn't matter what it is, right? So that's one place that's really useful. It's like untrusted Wi-Fi, untrusted networks, things like that. That's super useful. Now, a lot of people use them as a way to sort of stay anonymous, right? And that's very dependent on the people that are selling the VPN. You're essentially trading trust for one organization for trust in another organization, right? So if you're not using a VPN, I'm trusting, say, just for example, Comcast, right? They can see everything that I'm doing, presumably. I mean, sure, a lot of stuff is encrypted these days, but they can sit and watch my traffic and see what flows in, what flows out. They control all of that, right? If I use a VPN, they can't, because again, it's just encrypted trash to them going to some VPN server. However, whoever you've bought the VPN from, they can see whatever the hell they want. It's running on their servers. In the end, it has to be decrypted and become like normal people traffic and go to the web, go to DNS server, whatever. It's really just a matter of like trading trust. So it's from a technical perspective, that's really all it is. There's not much to it actually from a technical side, right? Like there's like protection against Wi-Fi, but the rest of it is just like, okay, you're trading trust. That's it. Like okay, if the police or FBI want after you, they're going to subpoena these other people instead of, or not subpoena, whatever they call it, get a warrant for these other people that own the VPN, as opposed to getting a warrant for your Comcast or whatever.
Right.
So,
well, I guess part of that aspect of like if the trading trust from like within your provider to elsewhere might also be if your machine were to get compromised, if you're using if my machine were compromised and I'm still using a different, like a secured connection, does that provide any modicum of security, like where they can't sniff, or does it not matter once machine's compromised?
I'd say once your machine is compromised, it's game over. Just because they can capture the traffic before it's encrypted is one thing. They can also just turn off your VPN and make it invisible to you as a user. You think you're using VPN, but you're not. Now that said, if an attacker manages to compromise something on your home network, then it's still a good thing to have a VPN, right? If there's no in directly to the computer that you're sitting in front of, and you're on a network going outbound with a VPN, that's all still encrypted. So nobody can really capture that. Like the man in the middle example, nobody can really capture that. They're just going to see garbage.
Okay, all right. So we got a little bit of history established. We talked about, I don't think we labeled these as such as we went through it, but we basically said, if you want to start hacking, here's how you can do it. Here's the software. Here's the places you can get your chops. And then now we just kind of talked about very superficial ways to protect yourself, or at least how protective a VNC really is. So the reason that you're really on here wasn't just for me to geek out and talk about AOHell progz and all these random things. Wait, you're telling me that you hacked the country of North Korea and took North Korea off the internet? You personally did that?
Yeah. Wasn't a big deal.
This up as if like we were in the middle of another conversation.
Sure.
So and just so that I've got this as a nice little intro, that'll like lead in. All right. Wait, you're telling me that you hacked the country of North Korea and took North Korea off the internet? You personally did that?
Yeah, wasn't a big deal. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, yes, I did do that. It was a whole thing. It's the reasons are complicated, and definitely get into those. So whatever order you want, man. If you want to know why, how, whatever. That was perfect. I'm gonna show you that exact clip and put it at the beginning. Okay. So now we're here. You got lulled in, and you had to listen to a bunch of Win32 API and VNC stuff and like soft ice. We're over that now. I want to hear about your actual story, and here's my very loose interpretation from like the Wired article. I didn't even read. I just kind of like sped read it, and I've got a slightly low comprehension rate in my speed read. But dude, I like read it like the 5th day because I was like, this shit's long.
Yeah, right. You like put it in a tweet, guys. Come on, this is 2024. But so you got hacked, and you use that as an opportunity, and you'll be able to re-explain this. But you get hacked, you use this as an opportunity to be like, oh, how come we're not hacking back? Like, why isn't there like a countermeasure? And then you were like, oh, there isn't one. All right, I'll do it. I'll do the thing that shows you, hey, no one hacks, Alejandro, no one hacks PAX, and here's what you get for that. So, is like what actually happened? Like take me through like what website were you on? Were you playing Minecraft and someone like stole all of your like rare Minecraft blocks or what?
That's great. No, so they actually ended up. It was a pretty creative attack that they came up with. Although in the end, what I was kind of talking about, if everybody has a carrot that somebody can dangle in front of you, and you're like, oh hell yeah. In the end, it was just a phishing attack. Is what they did against me. So I was just going around minding my own business. I don't know. I don't remember what the hell I was doing. I think I was looking for 0 days in drivers or something like that. That's what I was usually doing back then. So I got contacted by a friend of mine. He, a guy I knew pretty well, hacked with, did things with. So he knows that I own a business. Sorry, my phone keeps dominoes. Sorry. So he owns I own a business, and he knows that. Part of what we were just starting to offer was, okay, you think you found a vulnerability, or you found a vulnerability. What can I actually do with that? Oftentimes what you'll see is when you find a vulnerability in something, depending on what that is, in this example, actually drivers, like a Windows driver, what that does is you trigger a vulnerability in a very uncontrolled manner, which means you corrupt memory in some way. And we all know that wonderful BSOD, blue screen of death in Windows. That's usually what you'll see when you've found a vulnerability in a driver. So in this case, somebody had approached my friend going by the name of James Willie. Now, that name, I mean, man, it just sounds fake, right? Like it was like James Willy. I don't know, man. Like it sounds made up, right? But I just assumed it was made up, to be perfectly honest. But that's not entirely rare in this world. A lot of times people don't want you to know that they found a vulnerability or who they are, because they're hoping to make an exploit out of it and then sell it to, very loosely, somebody. And that somebody, unfortunately, the people that pay the best are the ones that are going to use it for human rights abuses. So that's like the Saudis, I won't get into whoever else. I'll just, yeah, great. Now I've just mentioned the Saudis, but but anyway, you can sell it to a lot of.
They're next on the list now, right? Now they're going to come after you, and you're going to have to go after them. Okay.
Hold on, I'll list some more. The Saudis, China, North Korea,
Israel. Why did you say that?
Israel, every other country that is terrible.
Those are all actually sponsors of this show too, so you're double screwed now.
Oh man, yeah. So they'll pay a really good premium. That actually includes like underground. There's criminal groups.
So let me just pause here for a second because I'm curious. How do you go from a driver blue screen of death exploit to human rights violations? Like, are they shocking the mouse and like now they electrocute them through like the mouse driver? Like, how exactly? What are the steps between? Oh no, I have to restart my computer, and then what? Like they're whipping people.
No, actually, that's a very good question. I never thought of it like that, but I mean, shit, that's a wonderful question. So usually it's a matter of people like to say things, right? I mean, that's a freedom of speech thing, man, right? Like people like to speak out when something horrible is happening. You know, children are getting murdered on the streets. You want to be like, hey, man, like don't murder those children. So anybody that says that in any kind of way, they become a potential target, right? Let's say they say, let's use a stupid example, like, hey, don't murder those children, right? Like, you guys suck. That starts to get some traction, right? Maybe it gets on Twitter, gets on Reddit, gets on TikTok for the kids out there. You know, they start to get a little bit bigger. Okay, well, all of a sudden they've become a little bit of a target, right? So essentially when you find an exploit for a driver, what that usually means that you've been able to corrupt the memory of the computer, right? So that's really all it means is you've overwritten some memory that was not meant to be overwritten. What can you do with that is, I think, a big question. And that part gets a little bit complicated, but I'll just say that there are ways that you can control the way that the thing that you have overwritten and point it somewhere else to do a thing that you have written, and it does exactly what you want. Now, in terms of a driver, which is a good one, because that's actually how they hit me, in terms of a driver, that means you have complete and total access of the operating system, right? Because a driver is it's very low level, as we call it, right? It's very close to the actual hardware of the computer. So yeah, they would typically write an exploit that controls the corruption of that memory to make it run something that they have written that they want to do. What can that be? One of those things is often something like a reverse shell. Right? A reverse shell is a thing where it executes on your computer. It sends something back to your computer. You catch it. You have what's called a listener, which is a very basic thing. It just listens for connections and accepts them. It accepts that thing that's coming back, and that thing that's coming back is actually a channel in which you can speak to the operating system. So all of a sudden, what you've got is essentially a command line in front of you. And for folks that aren't familiar with command lines, a command line's the exact same thing as like just clicking around. You're just doing it in a different way, right? It's a text representation of your operating system as opposed to like pretty clicky things. So, you know, once they've done that, they can geolocate this person. They can get information on this person. They can get their passwords. They can find their family. They can find their friends. They can find their children, where they go to school. They can plant things on their computer. It's really like the sky's the limit, honestly. And we've seen all kinds of weird shit. But in general, it's locate them, grab them, put a bag over their head, and do something. Yeah. So.
Okay, so that's a perfect explanation. So the bridge between, oh my God, I got a blue screen of death, I have to restart my computer, is essentially that is the foot in the door. And then the next thing you know, they're spying on everything you do. They're tracking your family. And if we're talking at the government level, it's like they're using it to suppress people. And it all started with, you know, I downloaded this Minecraft hack that'll let me fly. And now all of a sudden, you've got like Secret Service that are watching, or CIA agents watching your family. That's kind of the gap there. Okay. Lots of steps in between, but that's the full bridge.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely it.
So that it is kind of scary that it's like, oh, that save game in Lego Indiana Jones might kill your kids. Like there's a very real connection that happened. Okay, so
yeah, you're welcome for making that connection. By the way, yeah, I hope you enjoy your day.
So you get targeted by, was it North Korea the country, or was it just like some North Korean script kiddie that happened to be using Metasploit on your ass?
Yeah, no, it was the country. It was Lazarus. So Lazarus is the hacking group out of North Korea, state sponsored. Just not even state sponsored, just state run. They are the ones that are behind hundreds of millions of dollars, probably billions at this point, of stolen money, crypto, breaking into banks. They ransomware. They've ransomware hospitals. They've ransomware huge organizations. Pretty much anything that's like really loud or that anybody's heard of is going to be Lazarus. So
really, so this North Korean hacker group Lazarus, do they dwarf like, I don't know, like Russian hacking groups and Chinese hacking groups and every other hacking group on the planet? It's like this is the big boys.
I mean, yeah, I would say they're definitely considered the big boys. There's some people in those other countries that are really fucking good too, though. But they are playing in the big leagues, absolutely.
Well, you heard it here. Pax Alejandro says if you're not in Lazarus, like come at him. Like he doesn't even think you've got what it takes. So go ahead and flex your skills. All right, sorry, I just wanted to make that clear.
Oh, I love that. Great. I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So man, they for a country that essentially they're not a very rich country, right? They have a lot of problems, as we know. They have an extremely effective offensive hacking group, and I think a lot of money's been poured into it, and people have just been trained. But they are not bad at what they do at all. So,
what do you think this is inviting you to speculate if you don't know the answer? But like, how are they training these ultra hackers? Like, are you going into elementary school and they're like, here's the Unix handbook, like get at it?
Honestly, I suspect it is something like that. Yeah. There's a story out there of, one of the more horrible things that happened was this North Korean defector a North Korean person that was born and then straight to their intelligence service, and she was raised to be an intelligence officer. And
God, I want to see that Netflix series right now.
I know, right? It's an amazing story, but what ended up happening was basically she planted a bomb on a commercial flight and ended up killing like 250 people or something like that, right? And so the story goes, I don't know, obviously, but she defected, realized like, oh, maybe that was a little bit fucked, but she was born being taught that. So I have no doubt that they have other people like that, and that they're doing that with hackers. I mean, especially just with the amount of success that they've had. Frankly, it's a significant portion of their GDP is just stealing money, stealing crypto and shit. So, yes, actually, the short answer to your question is yes. I think they're absolutely doing that. But.
Okay, so Lazarus comes after you. They get you somehow through like a driver exploit. So then you're pissed off and you're looking to where does your frustration come into play? Where you were like, what do you mean there's nothing that I can do about this? Like, when did that transition into you taking it into your own hands?
Yeah. So actually, just one quick correction, because the attack was like, I was way dumber than that. Like their attack wasn't like super sophisticated against me. Like it wasn't even a driver attack. It wasn't like some memory corruption where you need.
Did they send you to like eBay with 2 Ys and you put in your password and it was all over?
It was like almost that bad, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this guy that I mentioned, the fucking James Willie guy, asked for help with writing an exploit, right? So he sent me the exploit code, and I looked at it. It looked very real, like it was clearly like a real exploit. So I opened it up. There's a program called Visual Studio, which is a Microsoft program where it just helps you create shit for Windows, and it's by Microsoft, just to encourage good shit to be built. There's the sense of like projects, and when you open up a project, projects are this extremely complicated whole fucking thing. You define like a compiler and do it's like 800,000 settings. In a lot of those, you can execute code. So basically what this James Willie person, probably people, did was they sent me a Visual Studio project of a real 0-day of a driver. So of course I'm not gonna like open a driver exploit, right? Or a driver memory corruption thing, but I opened the code for it, and opening the code for it gave them a backdoor into my machine. Now, the way I did that, I always play it safe with pretty much anything anybody ever sends me, especially now. I use what's called a virtual machine, which is just like you build an operating system within your operating system, and it's completely isolated, acts totally like another machine. So they ended up not getting anything, but getting into like, okay, what happened then, and like the whole what the fuck. The very first thought I had was, what the fuck? So I was, and I didn't find out about it until a couple days later when Google Tag, their threat analysis group, posted an article that, it's just that same friend actually sent it to me. And I started to read through it, and it was like, okay, yeah, they're, attacking other security researchers. Okay, I should watch out for that. Yeah, they're sending malicious Visual Studio projects. Okay, that's sounding a little bit familiar. They send you an actual exploit with, okay. And here's their aliases. There's like 3 of them, and one of them is James Willie. I'm like, fuck. So that's really how I found out. Immediately deleted that virtual machine. You just nuked it from orbit, right? It's the only way to be sure. That's how the whole thing went. And yes, I was like, what? Like, there was definitely a moment where I was just kind of like, wait, what? So the whole thing had it outlined. It was known to be a North Korean hacking group, like the government of North Korea planned this and executed this. And I was like, wait, so like you're gonna like a fucking country came after me, like personally came after me. They ran a whole operation on me. It wasn't like, here you go, and like, I'm a Nigerian prince and everybody's getting this email. It's I think like 15 to 20, maybe 10 to 15, something like that, researchers. And what they were looking for, apparently, found out later, was 0 days. So they were targeting specifically people that hunted for 0 days and were, maybe they could find some exploits or find some vulnerabilities that were juicy. So
they were trying to get a leg up on you, like corporate espionage in a way, like, if you found the exploit, then they found it too, and they could use it before you could use it?
It was even like, just like, a lot of people will find exploits and they'll kind of keep it around and be like, I'll keep it in my pocket. Like, I'll maybe use it for a rainy day, right? Now, the other part of it is you can sell them. So if you find a really sophisticated exploit, for example, Google Chrome is one particular target that is very sought after. You can sell that, if you don't care who you're selling it to, probably for like $4 or $5 million. So it has significant value, both in the sense that you can sell it and also in the sense that you can use it. So there was different ways that they targeted everyone. They targeted some people that just, I know them. They're very talented 0-day hunters. Hopefully they opened in a virtual machine. Nobody really said much after that. I went and told the news about it because I was like, what the fuck? I was just targeted by North Korea. Listen to all the shit. But yeah, man, that there was definitely just a moment there where, it's kind of incredible. Like, wait, so the country, and like you said, like I was like, so this wasn't some script kiddie, even like one dude. It's just like a full on operation.
It could have been an 11-year-old though, right? It could have legitimately been an 11-year-old North Korean kid. Like that's not even like a joke. Like that legitimately could be the real scenario. Like we won't know. Right?
Yeah. I mean, their English was perfect. Their perfect. I'd say perfect. Yeah, English was pretty perfect. The name was a little sus. That was probably the 11-year-old doing that. But yeah, man, no, they have some people there. I mean, nobody really knows exactly who they are. No, I think a few of the members have been found out or something. But yeah, man, no, it could have been anybody. It could have been a team of people. I have no idea. But
okay, so how did you hack North Korea back?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, continuing that from that point, it was definitely a little bit of what you said. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I was definitely like, well, this shit isn't gonna go unpunished, right? Like that's like I'm sorry. Like who the fuck do you think you're hitting? There's a little bit of that, just, I guess maybe a little.
Do you know who I am?
A little something. I don't. Yeah,
do you know who I am?
I was asking for their manager.
Yep. Hacker Karen. It kind of started as a Hacker Karen, right?
Yeah. So no, man. Yeah, it was. That wasn't my first thought at all, though. At first, I was contacted by the FBI. And the FBI, of course, asked me all the questions, and I was like, yeah, this is exactly what happened. It's the story I just told you. A week later, I was contacted by the same dude. Basically asked the exact same thing. I was like, okay, maybe that's like a consistency in story thing. Maybe I remember something, whatever. I thought. Contacted me a third time, asked me very similar questions, and I was already emailing with him already as well. Contacted me a fourth time on the phone, and honestly, I was like about to ignore it, but I was like, I guess it's the FBI. I should probably pick that up. And the agent on the other side just kind of started asking me a little bit of the same questions, and I was, I wasn't rude about it or anything. I was nice, but I was like, okay, dude, like I'm sorry, I'm wondering where this is going. What are you guys actually going to do about this? And like I've answered like absolutely everything I can. I'm like, I really, if I had more information, I'd absolutely give it to you. Yeah, so we hung up, and later I got a very I thought it was a really odd email. Like it was kind of like it came from a 16-year-old girl. But it was like oh, hey man, like I thought we were gonna like get something going and like do something and like me and you were gonna work as a team and do something about this. And I was like, why the fuck would you think that, man? Like you're the one getting paid to investigate this. Like I mean, you want to hire me? I have a company and shit to run, right? Like employees to pay and all that. But so that was all super fucking weird, man. I sort of just waited for a while, right? I gave them probably 2 years, I think, maybe a little bit less, where I was just like, okay, so anybody gonna do anything? And just hearing about Lazarus is, they just hacked this. They just stole $80 million out of another bank. They just stole like 100 million in crypto. They did this, they did that. I'm like, they're just running around doing whatever the fuck they want. Nobody's gonna stop them. That was like just proof to me. Like, okay, so this FBI guy, I was picturing like, okay, he's gonna go talk to the Department of Defense. They're gonna talk to the NSA. They're all gonna work together and they're gonna fuck him up. Nah, man, it was more like he probably filed it away and then I don't know, took a nap or something. But I just saw nothing was gonna happen. So that's when I decided, okay, let's see what I can do, and that's kind of the point where my hacker curiosity really came in, right? And you talk about like the dude with the hotel system. North Korea has a fairly unsophisticated, not fairly, an unsophisticated internet. I did know that. They have a small.
In what way? Like when you say that, that's relative to what, to our system?
Yeah, I would say it's relative to other countries. Even if you look at like the ratio of number of people versus like level of infrastructure, it's still pretty low. I guess there's a few things. Their IP space. So everything that's on the internet has an IP address, right? Normally for a country, it's massive ranges with tens of millions, hundreds of millions of IP addresses that can be assigned. They only have something like I forget the exact number, but it's like 5,000 something. So it's really not a lot. Now, when that's something that I can actually do like a port scan of using Nmap to see basically just see what services are running.
The entire country of North Korea.
Yeah, it's very, very doable these days, actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's one of the big things that's changed since the 90s too, actually, is that we can do some pretty like internet scale shit these days, which is kind of awesome and kind of terrifying, but is what it is. But yeah, honestly, I just I did a bunch of reconnaissance on the entire country. From a hacking perspective, to give you an idea, there are like penetration tests that were about that size. So it's not an unmanageable number of things. So, the natural question is like, well, how do they do that? They have 26 million people or 29 million, 26, I think, in their country. Like, how do they pull that off, right? And the answer is that the people don't have access to the internet at all. Only the regime, only the high-level government people, maybe some of their friends or something like that. I have no idea about that, but it's basically govies. It's the regime and whoever they deem worthy of access, which is probably themselves.
Okay, so now you got fish in a barrel in a way, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So one thing I would have been worried about, of course, is like I don't want to affect like the day-to-day person. Like they didn't have anything to do with this. Presumably, they're not like cheering them on. They probably had no idea any of this was happening. But it completely eliminated any kind of, for lack of a better word, civilian casualty if anything were to happen to them, right? To happen to the internet, I mean. If
we're making omelets, eggs are going to be broken, right?
Yeah, got to crack those eggs. So yeah, man, I started to map it out really well. I'd say over like a month and a half. I started to see their infrastructure. They were running fairly outdated web servers. They weren't on huge machines. I know that they rolled their own operating system called like Red Star Linux. They're on like 4.0, maybe 5.0 by now. Which, I mean, I don't have my hands on it. Nobody's leaked it yet. But it didn't seem very sophisticated from 3.0, which was leaked. So most of the stuff was running their own rolled operating system. Their web servers were fairly small. Their mail exchange servers to send email, they were, I mean, all of this was like small for a country, of course, like so big for normal people, but like still relatively small. And as I was doing that, really what happened was I kept seeing these like two same IP addresses come up like every single time. And they just like, I would look at like the logs and shit of what I was doing. And I'd be like, okay, wait, so this went through this IP address. Wait, that's that same IP address. And look at another one. And it's like, wait, that's that other IP address. Okay. And I just kept seeing them, right? So at that point, I was like, wait, so does that mean that there's only two devices on the internet that are in charge of all input and output of traffic? I was like, really? Is it like, could that be? I was like, no, like that can't be real. Like I can't just have found that. Like that's ridiculous. So like what I did was I really surrounded the country in servers. I rented servers like all around the country, including China, just in case. I know China and them are buddy, even if they pretend they're not sometimes. I thought maybe there's some special routing from China. Who the hell knows? So got, rented a couple from China and just basically surrounded the country and used a tool called traceroute. Traceroute is a system administration tool. It's nothing special. It's not a hacking tool in particular, but I use traceroute, and that tells you sort of what path packets are taking to go in and then back out of the internet. So I basically hit every, and by hit, I should say, I trace routed to everything that was inside of their internet. And sure enough, did not matter from which part of the world you were coming. Usually the internet will try to take like the shortest-ish path. It didn't matter though. Wherever you were coming from, it would, you'd see weird shit like it would route like from here to here to here to here to here. So, and it would just get to these same exact 2 points, every single one of them. So it was just a little bit of like correlation and good reconnaissance at that point. I understood what was inside as well. I wrote what are called end days, which are basically just they're vulnerabilities that have been known for a little while, for like n number of days, right? And there's not really like a public exploit, but in this case, like I feel like there kind of wasn't because they were just like really easy. So I just wrote a couple of those and rented some additional bandwidth and started to write one script. It was in the end, it was one script called updown.py. Why that? It just seemed kind of funny that if like I was actually able to take it down, like I'm like up, down, So and .py because it's Python programming language. So yeah, man, it became one program, and the way it would work is it would hit the inside assets with a bunch of different kinds of attacks. These end days I was talking about, some other little tricks that you can do on web servers to sort of take up some resources, and then just a shitload of traffic. Started with the inside. You started to see a good amount of disruption. Things would be up, things would be down. The way it would work was basically in a loop. Okay, send packets here. Okay, cool. What's up? What's down? Okay, this is down. Send packets here now as well. Then it would check, wait 5 minutes, check again, and continue with that loop. So I actually hit the inside of the country first, took down the mail servers, took down the DNS servers, which are what DNS will translate. Like you type google.com, it'll translate it to an IP address. The IP address is actually how it's routed through the internet. So I hit their name servers, their mail servers first, because that, for all intents and purposes, makes the internet inaccessible for them. So that's usually like the first thing attackers will go to when they're doing distributed denial of service, which usually isn't my thing. But in this case, I was like, shit, this is going to be effective. So why not? Then when I was kind of satisfied, or the script really was satisfied with the amount of assets that were down on the inside, it started to focus a lot of traffic on those two routers. And, I just, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm already disrupting them. This is awesome. Like I already called that. I'm like, that's a win. Like, that's awesome, sending a message, right? But then when I really started to crush those two routers with bandwidth, and I used to what's called like an amplification attack. There was a couple of ports open on them that probably shouldn't have been open. So I was able to send very small things to it, and it would have to respond with something larger than the thing that I sent it. So that whole thing, I just flooded the shit out of those two routers. And my script would just keep checking again, like try to hit things on the inside of their network. And it would say, hey, is this alive? Is this alive? Is this alive? And there got to a point after a few hours, I'd say, where I started to see exclusively the message that there is no route to this host. So that basically meant that there was no routing into or out of their internet. That was the attack, man. Those routers came down and their internet came down. So
Did you have any?
Fuck.
Did you have any insight out? So you've got these scripts that are running, letting you know what the status of these things are, and then all of a sudden it's like we don't know the status because we can't even get to them anymore. So is that your entire like insight into this? Did you have actually like access to any compromised assets where you're like seeing messages and people freaking out or anything like that, or is it just it's on? Well, now it's off. I guess the internet's gone.
You know, I've thought about it a lot, and the truth is, like, I just don't remember.
How long are we talking about? What's the span of time between when
that's
you
the line I use when I don't want to answer a question? My fault.
What's the span of time that we're talking about here? For when you like started to like probe and find these two magical IP addresses to they're completely offline? Are we talking like hours or weeks or months?
It's about a month and a half or 2 months. Yeah.
So this is you rampant. So you've got a bunch of different servers rented out. How many? Like 5, 20, 100?
It's hard to even say, honestly. It was really it's a lot. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I did it mostly based off of what would be cheapest for the most bandwidth. So I was more like calculating the bandwidth size. But in terms of like number of servers, a lot.
Okay, well, that actually leads to, I guess, a more specific question. Like, what if you were to take your personal like hourly rate out of the equation? Like, how much money was spent in taking down the North Korean internet?
Yeah. So all said and done, like taking out the time, it's about Well, here's the thing, right? So it was about $3,000 for all the rentals, right? Now, the thing is, though, I rented those for a month, and by the way, that attack it didn't their internet didn't come back because they had some incident response. Like I just decided to stop, and I killed the script. So over that week is really all I used. So like what 1/4 of 3,000 was that like 750 or something like that. That's really what the attack cost. I mean, I ended up paying for that other 3 weeks where I didn't use them much, but yeah, it really was fucking budget takedown of a country, right? Like,
so hypothetical situation here, but let's say that you've got everything working to the point where you know it works. Like you could run this thing and it would take down the internet. Let's say though that you didn't run it so that they didn't know that this existed or anything. And you were just like, okay, it's a Saturday afternoon. I'm going to start running this thing that I know is going to work. How long and how much money do you think that would take from the moment that you start charging, all the different servers? Like, could you have North Korea down within hours?
Oh no, it's a good question actually. Yeah. I would say it took a little bit of time to put that script together, right? Also, like the end days that I was talking about, those take a little bit of time. You test, you mess up, whatever. I don't even know if half of them were written properly, but like, so yeah. I mean, taking out the time, I hit that attack button, right? Which is just run that script. Shit, man, 6-7 hours, something like that. Yeah, I mean, probably a little less. I mean, I could have, I guess, just like blasted it also, right? So that probably would have shortened it to like maybe 1.5 or 2 hours, something like that.
So another hypothetical. Well, let's say like you take the whole bundle, you make a Metasploit out of like this particular one that targets, North Korea, and it's got all the IP addresses, everything built into it. Could you just like throw that up on Pirate Bay or throw that up on Usenet or wherever you would put it and just be like, hey, anyone that's got, $800 to burn and you want to take down North Korea's internet, here you go. Like run this thing for 6 hours and you got it. Like, could we just theoretically just remove them from the internet for the next year if there was enough people that were just like, hell, I'll spend $800. I'll run that next Friday. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. In the end, the vulnerability that I found was it was a very deep architectural one, right? I mean, in order to fix it, they have to add entire new routes into their country, which is not like a small thing, right? So Yeah.
Have they done that? Like, can you fire that thing up again right now and take them down again?
I believe so. Yeah. I haven't 100% checked, but 99.9%. Yeah. Just fire that thing up, let it do its thing. And the same thing would happen. And, I'm gonna like this script. It wasn't like this hugely complicated thing either. Right. So I mean, it's almost like not worth releasing in my mind. Right. People have seen it. I've given it to people because, like, if I get fucking murdered, it's going to go to everybody. But it's also just not that it's not that complicated, right? Like me describing it, I'm sure there's like a million other hackers that would be like, oh, okay. Like I'll just check out the entrance points and then hit those routers. Okay, yeah,
So I mean, is this anything beyond a typical denial of service attack?
I would say it's slightly beyond it in that. I'd say almost all like denial of service attacks that I've seen are they're a little bit like what I would call like dumb, right? In the sense that you pick the target, those are the targets you are going to take down. This one actually required me to understand the shape and architecture of their internet, and from a country standpoint as well, which is I think another interesting part of it was that I had to understand their whole network, right? And that's the network of a country. It's not the network of a corporation. It's not the network of this or that. But like, how do you do that? How you actually do that is not something that you'll read about or that's well defined. So in that way, it was a little different in that I call it like I'm trying to like coin the phrase, or I was trying to like coin the phrase of like informed denial of service or something like that, but that doesn't sound good. You got to help me think of something like awesome to call it, but like, like something like that. It's just I did it with an understanding of what I was actually doing. In other words,
I would go biblical. I don't have the exact name, but I mean Lazarus is a very specific story. So there's probably some antidote or like counterpart to Lazarus of like someone that killed him again or something. I don't know. It would just have a nice little personal touch to it, bake in the origin story some.
Oh, I like that. Okay, I'll have to look that up.
All right, we're running a little bit long here. I've got a quick segment. I'm gonna play a little short here, and we'll get into it.
Hey, conspiracy buffs! I double dare you to take some PCP, the Paranormal Conspiracy Probe. On your marks, get set, and go.
Okay, the rules here are pretty simple. You're a smart guy, so you'll figure it out quick. I'm just gonna mention a certain concept, and you're gonna give me a rating from 1 to 10. You can even give me from 0 to 255 if you're like really feeling like a computer nerd today. We can do like a full gradient, but I want to know 1 to 10 how you feel about certain topics. So 1 meaning like you don't believe in it at all, you think it's bullshit. 10 meaning that like, oh yeah, of course that's true. Everyone knows that's true. So for example, if I said Bigfoot exists on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you rank that?
1.5.
How about the concept of flat Earth?
-1,000.
How about the concept of hollow Earth?
-1,000 as well.
Toroidal Earth?
Oh, what now?
Toroidal? Like a donut, donut-shaped Earth?
Like a Taurus?
How about anything other than a somewhat spherical Earth?
Right, it's like a peanut M&M, but yeah, like I would say like at a 1 or 0 or whatever the lowest I can go.
Okay. How about ghosts?
It's a hard one. 6.
If I were to specify and say like Victorian ghost, would that keep that at a 6 still, or does that change it at all?
I'd keep it there.
Okay. How about biblical demons?
I want to believe, man. Like I'm going to give it a 2, just mostly because my mind wants to, but it's probably 1 realistically. But
how about angels? Does angels get the same score?
That's a 1.
How about the Greek concept of a daemon?
Ooh. 1.
Okay. just a slight tangent really quick, because I just want to, as a mental reminder, but how much do you think the written, this is again 1 to 10, but like the original computer engineers believed in demons? I'm talking Charles Babbage style, because there were stories that like he actually invoked Satan as a young kid, because I think he was trying to do like an exploit test. He was like doing a pen test into the dark realm, right? And he was like, Satan, if you're out there, you have to abide by these rules that are set forth. And right, he was just like CLIing Satan a little bit. So 1 to 10 on like, do you think that there's people that are invoking, demons and evil into technology?
Probably not in the sense that you mean, but yes.
Okay, how about dinosaurs? 1 to 10.
Like, do they exist? Like, or how awesome are they? I mean, it's a 10 either way. Yeah, 10.
If you were to go into a typical children's museum and it's like, here's a representation of T-Rex or whatever, like that's somewhat accurate. That's a 10.
Yeah, I would give that like a 9 or 10. Yeah.
Okay. How about fire-breathing flying dragons having existed at any point in history?
I'm gonna give that one a 2. No, 3. 3.
How about the phrase that AI just doesn't have soul?
Yeah, 10.
How confident are you that you could pinpoint AI artwork, AI music, AI video footage right now? And I guess we have to specify it's June 2024, because it might change by October. But like, how confident are you that you can spot like, oh, that's artificially generated?
Oh God, like a 2, dude. Honestly, yeah, 2.
On a score from 1 to 10, how much do you think AI could have come up with your North Korean hack?
Probably 6, 7. Yeah.
What do you think the AI can just start replacing hackers at any point, or like script kiddies?
Absolutely, I would give that solid. Do you mean at some point or like right now? Well, either way, I would give that like a solid. Yeah, if you're talking about like a script kiddie, 8. Yeah.
How open are you to Neuralink or things like Neuralink?
It's kind of terrifying. That's where they like implant the shit in your brain, and then what do they do after that with it though? Like what's
I don't
like give you injections.
I just read an article, and I swear it seemed like they were being sarcastic, but so I think that the pilot program has identified people with MS or like paraplegics or something. So he's like tweaking on the heart muscle a little bit. It's like, look, we're not going right for super soldiers. First, we're gonna help the blind see, kind of thing. Well, one of the first guys that got the implant says that he's been using it to play like Call of Duty online. And he basically has an aimbot. Like he's got an aimbot built into his brain. So now they can't like DRM him out of existence. And who the hell is going to take down a paraplegic, like ban the paraplegic because he can now play? But it's also giving him like a crazy unfair advantage. And the article took this weird turn. It was just like, oh my God, this is going to revolutionize online competitive gaming. And it's like, is that really the takeaway?
That's your takeaway?
that is a practical version of it, I guess, is that, and I don't know if I have to assume, but I don't know. There's like a custom driver that the Neuralink like acts like the keyboard and the mouse or something. They didn't get into the details on that, but it sounds like that's kind of what it is, that it just cuts out your motor response of like me actually having to think for my arm to move and then do the thing. Like me thinking it happens. And the guy was describing that like sometimes I'll oversimplify his analogy, but it was like sometimes the aimbot aimed itself before he even realized that he was going to think for it to go and aim over there. Like it would just already be on the guy's head before he even noticed that he knew the guy was there, which is kind of mind-blowing, because now it's like if you hook that into your Cybertruck or you hook that into your CLI, for example, imagine if you just, instead of having to open up Visual Studio and all this stuff, like you could just think like, oh, I wonder if I pinged this port with this much traffic, and it was just doing it as you were thinking of it. that's my impression of. So with that as the baseline, how open are you to getting a Neuralink today?
Oh, today, Jesus Christ! So
Today. They close at 7, so you got about an hour and a half to figure out the answer to this.
I mean, I would give it a 2 because I wouldn't outright discount it. But I mean, first of all, like I'm going to get an infection of some sort, and second of all, you're toying around with something that we don't fully understand at all. That Call of Duty thing sounds pretty dope. So, like, 2, yeah.
And we don't have to do 1 to 10. We'll start wrapping this up a little bit. But I'm really curious on, let's say Neuralinks are not ubiquitous, but if you were to like go into a major metropolitan city, that there'd probably be 100 people that have Neuralinks in high performing areas, whatever. How interested are you in like hacking into Neuralinks? Like, you know, would you want to scan someone's brain ports? Is that just something that you want to do hearing it, or does that get into like a weird territory where you don't want to do it?
Oh, I know that. I mean, how could I not? I mean, that's like, yeah, holy shit, like that's the dream. The Holy Grail. Yeah. I mean, have you seen Ghost in the Shell? That's like some literal Ghost in the Shell anime shit. Dude, that would be like, the brain has to be one of the most fascinating systems out there, and like I would just have to take a look. And if there was somebody that was like a really fucking bad person, that would just be just gold, man. Just gold. Yes, a million times yes.
All right, and I guess maybe a fun one to part on a little bit. What and if you've got more than one example, please share more than one. But like, what are some good examples of like accurate hacking movies, TV shows, games, anything? Yeah, like what are good examples of it that like seem somewhat accurate that also aren't completely boring?
Yeah, Mr. Robot. That's like that's the one to me that gets almost everything right. The timelines are of course like way accelerated, right? Like fucking the main character never makes a syntax error or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, all of the attacks are well researched. They clearly had some hacker on their team or hackers on their team giving them advice and what's real and what can you do with this and what can you not. But like the tools, the techniques, the ways they explain things, all of that shit, all very, very real. Yeah.
I saw an episode of CSI once, and they said they were using a Visual Basic GUI, and that they also had 2 people typing on the keyboard at the same time to like hack twice as fast. What level of hack is that? Just like so deep that you don't even know how to do that?
I mean, I can type on one keyboard by myself. That's about like, but like having another person, you're like, no, man, I fucking hit space, but enter, dude, enter. No, that's just too much. If I had like a clone or something.
Or if you both had Neuralink and you like sharding your memory, right?
Exactly,
you had distributed memory, and yeah,
that would be dope. But yeah, I heard about that CSI thing, and I was like, that would take so much time because like the other person would just be like no, you're fucking this up. Like, and my only fear of Neuralink, right, is like as soon as somebody gives you something and they're like, hey, anything that you think of will open. You're like, oh shit, okay, don't think of anything bad on porn. Like, right? Yes, shit. Like, no, I gotta focus on work. Porn.
Don't think of that one folder. Crap, it's open. Crap, it's yeah. Yeah, that's actually interesting, man. That will probably will be a very real limitation, or like a weird place we'll find ourselves in, where it's so advanced that it's like the thing that you think automatically. And I actually, to get a little bit woo-woo, I guess.
Okay, I'll go for it.
I heard someone say this on a show I was on recently, and I thought it was a fascinating concept that we're here. I think it was my friend Todd Cave. Shout out Todd Cave. That what we're doing here on Earth, and learning how to like treat each other with respect and morals, and if you believe in like any sort of karma or afterlife or any of that, that essentially the ultimate test is, can you live a life where not only do you not do anything bad to people, but you don't have a negative thought in your head towards anyone, which seems impossible. Seems like no one could meet that standard. But that the reason is that once you reincarnate and you go to the next level, we get into this next dimension. We're just thinking something like is the thing, like just like thinking it manifests it. And in that case, you need the ultimate bouncer to that club. Like if anyone that gets into the club, the first thing they think happens, you can't let anyone in there that's like, I wish that guy was dead. I wish you had cancer. Oh, I wish you didn't have all the things you had. Because the second you're in there, just like the world starts to fall apart. So that, I don't know, that's like such a fascinating concept. Like maybe we're just screwed until we are just absolutely altruistic in every form. Which doesn't sound like any hacker I've ever met in my entire life. Right?
Yeah, no.
I don't care if you call yourself white hat. You're just white knighting as a black hat, you know?
I don't know. It's so hard to classify. People ask me that a lot. Or like people assume like a lot like articles have been written or like white hack attacks North Korea. I'm like, white hack, really? I mean,
this is a little bit controversial to like just the nerdiest of all nerds, but I really have always grown up and developed this concept that a white hat hacker is just the guy that got caught by the government and now has to do things either for the government or for the corporations, because otherwise they're either going to be sued out of existence or they go to jail forever. But like, who the hell is like, I want to be a hacker, but I'm only going to use it for good? Like that doesn't exist. That's not a real archetype. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is.
I mean, I know maybe two people like that are like, oh, I found a 0 day. I'm going to tell the vendor and I'm going to go through the proper procedures.
I don't even want a bug bounty. I don't even want their money. I just want to help.
Yeah, none of that. Just here you go, like, and I'm like, what can I fuck up with this? Okay.
Maybe are there like hackers for Jesus out there? Are there like a Mormon hacking group that's just like, we hack for the Lord and nothing else?
That's actually a great question. I mean, I would put money on it, like that there's like multiple. I mean, how can there not be? I mean, the only thing might be like no Amish hackers, but even then, maybe.
God, what an awesome premise, man. Amish hacking group that takes down Lazarus.
Yeah, man. They might be effective. They might have some tricks that we really don't know about. So,
all right, we're going off the rails. We're having way too much fun right now. Tell people where they can find you on social media again, and if there's, I don't know, like cool articles that make you feel special because they boo you up like you're some ultimate, Neo in the Matrix.
Oh, dude! One of the articles said that I emerged from the shadows to beat down North Korea.
That was ChatGPT. I hate to break it to you, bro. They were just. Let me say, they used the word delve in there 4 or 5 times, and the word tapestry 3 times, right?
It's entirely possible. Oh, it was not the best article, but I loved that description. Like, I'm like, where the fuck am I going to find shadows? I'm in my office, right? Anyway, where can you find me online? Twitter is usually the best place. So I'm at _HYP3ri0n. So Hyperion, but like spelled if you're an idiot. Yeah, you don't do video on your podcast, I imagine, but it is on my arm. So the best, I think, place to find information and the person that has spent the most time really getting to know this is the Wired article by Andy Greenberg. He's the one that broke the story. He broke the original story before I gave out my real name as well. So he's been tracking for a very, very long time. And whatever he says, take that as ground truth for sure. The stuff that the other people say is mostly accurate, I'd say. I don't think I've ever seen anything egregious, but the Wired article, that's the place to go. Somebody out there, I think maybe it was with the Wired article, had pictures of all my tattoos too. Which will remind you of how the hell to spell my Twitter handle. Other really good article. There was a Reddit AMA that I did that was a fuck ton of fun. It was yeah, people just have really, really good questions, and they bring you into kind of, everything from like fairly technical people that are asking deep questions all the way to, okay, so when you're hacking, like run me through, what are you like seeing? What are you like actually doing and stuff like that? So just like search for like a Reddit AMA North Korea guy or something like that, and it'll pop up. It was a whole thing. So yeah, it was probably the best places. Other than that, also depends what language you speak. This shit is blown up like fucking crazy. You're gonna have to cut some of this out. I know, it's okay. There's like South Korean articles. There's ones in Spain. There's French people. Yeah, it's.
How long ago did this break?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd have to like. Oh, it's you know what? It was April 4th when it broke. It's the day before my birthday. So yeah, it broke April 4th, and it's still. I was on fucking Telemundo 2 days ago, or like doing the interview for it rather. So it just keeps rolling, man. I don't know where it's gonna stop, but it's his shit. Like, you know. And then DEF CON Black Hat are gonna come up. Hopefully, I'll be speaking there. We'll see.
That's awesome, man. You're a little bit of a celebrity. We've got your full name, your birthday. Do you want to give us any other revealing information? What's your current IP address right now on Mac?
Yeah, let me check for you.
Could you just tell us your Mac address? Is there anything else that you want to just throw out there? Your Bitcoin passwords or? No, seriously, thank you for your time. I had a great, the fact that we got to bond over AOHell progz to kick this off, like we're homeboys now. And I'm the main thing is I want you to keep Lazarus off my back if you possibly can.
Yeah, just tell everybody you hate me every once in a while, like you'll be fine.
North Korea is a superior, country out of all these. So I'm definitely on board. If they want to sponsor me, it sounds like you've got 5,000 IPs to share out there. I can get one of those. So thanks again, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate it. And this is super unique one. So I always enjoy these, man. So yeah, thanks.
All right, next episode we'll talk about Bigfoot dick all over again. So don't worry, they won't be all like computer nerds like this dude.
Ready for a cosmic conspiracy about Stanley Kubrick, moon landings, and the CIA? Go visit nasacomic.com.
nasacomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm nasacomic.com. Go visit nasacomic.com. Go visit nasacomic.com. Yeah, go visit nasacomic.com. Oh, nasacomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm nasacomic.com. Go visit nasacomic.com. Go visit nasacomic.com. Yeah, go visit nasacomic.com.
Never a Straight Answer is a 40-page comic about Stanley Kubrick directing the Apollo space missions.
Yeah, go visit nasacomic.com.
This is the perfect read for comic, Kubrick, or conspiracy fans of all ages. For more details, visit nasacomic.com.
Spread the word with propaganda packs, all for just $40 shipped at paranoidamerican.com.
Paranoid propaganda packs. We got facts on these sticker slaps. So grab yourself a stack and go attack with these paranoid propaganda packs.
These huge all-weather slaps will last in public for years to come. Remind citizens that birds are not real, self-immolation is an option, and might make you magnetic. Do your part and get a propaganda pack today from paranoidamerican.com.
Got paranoid propaganda packs. We got facts on these sticker slaps. So grab yourself a stack and go attack with these paranoid propaganda packs.
What are you waiting for? Go to paranoidamerican.com right now and get a paranoid propaganda pack.
American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all of that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
Explore the unique with Paranoid American sticker sheets. Unearth tales of cryptids, cults, and mysteries through each sticker. These won't last long. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
All American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all of that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
What the heck are you waiting for? Discover the extraordinary with Paranoid American sticker sheets. From cryptids in the night to cults out of sight, each sticker is a unique find. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hate, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, Meta's the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Matters not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.